Time for the death toll. So, how many characters on Night Raid died? Well, technically 9 out of the 10 die, except for Akame, because except for Najinda. And Najinda doesn't die in the anime, but she does say she's gonna die soon because of a different subject. But the rest of them, yes, they die. I did say this was spoilers, so you should have known I was gonna spoil who did and didn't die. Now, as you can see though, we'll start with the first person who died, which is why I was crying when I said her name, Shelley, right here. It was so sad, yo. It was so sad. It was so sad because she was comforting Tatsumi and they were all nice and buddy. We was all loving Shelley and all her nice and sweetness, and then bop, she's dead. How did she die? Well, she fights this different character who's on the Jaegers side, Seiryu and Koro. This devil girl and her devil dog, and they fight her and Mine together. And then throughout the fight, she actually beats Seiryu, but Mine was in trouble of dying, and so she helps out Mine. But then Seiryu shoots her, and she's like paralyzed, and she can't move. And then she would have died from that because it was a fatal shot. And she was like coughing up blood and stuff, and then she wasn't able to move. And then all of a sudden, Devil Dog comes through, slosh, and Attack on Titan Shelley. And I almost cried, yo. I almost cried. I almost shed actual tears. Like, I felt so bad that day. I couldn't even eat. After that, yo. I couldn't even eat. Do you know what that means? I love food. I couldn't even eat after that. It was so sad. And like, that's not even how she dies. He bites her in two, and he's holding onto the top of her, and she has her scissors, and she uses her scissors to blind everybody so that Mine can get away because Mine's injured, and so Mine escapes, and then she gets Attack on Titan, and it's really sad. It really is sad. It really sucks. But I don't want to spend like hours and hours on why they died, but still, it's sad, and we all love Shelley. R.I.P. to her. Next, we have Bull-Out, who dies a few episodes later, but he doesn't die in as a violent manner. He doesn't die in a violent kind of way. He actually dies because he was fighting his old general. The general, when he was a part of the capital, he was an imperial officer. His general that was with him, like his mentor, actually came and joined the capital, and they made him become like Esdeath's one of her like top 3 kind of guard kind of people, and that's who he ended up fighting. And he used this poison thing to inject himself, and so when he died, he was able to use his blood in order to pierce through Incursio, because it was just like small enough to the point where it pierced through and cut his skin, and so pretty much Bull-Out was poisoned. And then after that, he had to die because he couldn't cure himself in time because they were in like the middle of the ocean on a boat, and so he died pretty much that. And that's how Tatsumi gets Incursio, and Bull-Out kind of dies like that. It was sad, but you know what? I wasn't as mad as I was with Shelley because we could actually see his body. You know, he wasn't like sliced in pieces or blown up or anything like that. Now, next he was the second character to die. So now we actually go for a while until someone dies, but the next character to actually die is waifu material herself, Chelsea. And Chelsea was just as bad as Shelley. It is probably close to being even worse. Theirs was the worst death of the whole thing. Like, they got just obliterated for no reason. And they're one of the finest chicks on the show, and they had to kill them like that. Oh, it makes me mad. But how she dies is pretty much, she, like I said, she has the ability to transform into different characters and things like that. And what she does is she transforms into one of Akame's little sister, Kurome, one of her friends, in order to act like that she was still alive, because she had killed Bowles, who's a different character I have to speak on. She transformed into him, and basically after that, she after she turns into Bowles, she goes and finds Kurome. But even though before she does that, Lubbock himself, he tells her, he's like, yo, you know, you say you don't go into things without thinking it through, but she was like, I have to do this. But then you find out the reason that she even went to go kill Kurome was because she was like falling in love with Tatsumi, and she had romantic feelings for Tatsumi, and she wanted Tatsumi to be like, oh, you're so cool, and she just wanted to be kind of praised by Tatsumi himself. And I'm telling you, Tatsumi pretty much gets a lot of people killed in the show. He really does. He gets a lot of them killed. and then she goes to fight Kurome, and Kurome, she technically would have killed her, but Kurome has different drugs, which I have to get into on a second when I actually explain who Kurome is, but most of y'all probably know who she is anyway. But she has drugs which prevent her from dying, and as Chelsea tried to stick her with the needle, Kurome wasn't having that, and she fell, but then she got back up due to her drugs, which allowed her to live, and she went insane, and she was slice her up, and she used her two puppets, Natala and Doya, to pretty much obliterate Chelsea. She got, as she was running away, she tried to transform into something. They shot off her hand, and they shot off her Imperial arms. That's kind of a sign of when somebody dies. Usually their Imperial arm is lost, or they don't have it in reach, or it's destroyed. And so they shot her hand off, and they shot her Imperial arms, so she's now handless. So she keeps trying to run. Although she's an assassin, she's a stealthy assassin. She's not agile or powerful or anything. She can't hand-to-hand combat, which is why she dies, kind of, is because they only give her one weapon, which is these needles, which she sticks through people's vital points in order to kill them because of her stealth. But she doesn't have actual combat type skills, which is why she dies. Like I said, she gets shot through her hand, she's handless, and as she's running away, she gets shot, she gets her arm sliced off, and she gets shot through her torso, and so she's kind of laying in the grass. And then, I was sad, and I was really, really angry when that happened. I was really hoping that plot armor would come through and she would live, but no, nobody was safe in this anime. And then Kurome told them to slice her up, and they pretty much did that. They didn't cut her off limb by limb, but Natala sliced her head off, and we didn't see her head get sliced off, but we did. I don't know why. They showed us her head on the pike, yo. I was angry. I was heated. I'm heated right now, yo. I'm heated right now. Think about how it was when I was watching it, bro. I almost broke my laptop when I was watching this episode. I went insane. I went ballistic, yo. I cannot even hold in the anger. I had to go downstairs and I have this little punching bag, and I was just whooping the punching bag's booty. I was just giving that thing to work. I was so mad when that happened. Y'all can't do that to waifu material. Y'all can't do that. But they did it anyway. And that's pretty much how she dies. Now, in order to make this not an hour long, I'm going to go on to the next one. Who actually dies, who is Lubbock. Now, this is the anime, not the manga, like I said. So, how does Lubbock die? You may be wondering. Well, Lubbock dies because what happens with him is, as he's fighting Shira, who is a different character, who actually I'm not even going to talk on because in anime he's not even important. He's fighting a character, and then as he's fighting him, the character Shira actually takes him into a different dimension, and as he's fighting him, he uses Crosstail to kill Shira while they're in the other dimension. But apparently that other dimension takes him 2 million feet in the air, and then he's in the air and he's falling down, and he can't fly or anything, and he's out of Crosstail, so he couldn't even come up. He's out of the string that he uses. He was out of it by the time the fight was over, and he wasn't able to live. Now, another reason that he died was because this girl, who I'm not even going to explain who she is because she's irrelevant, she kind of stabs him in the back because she thought her parents were still alive and stuff like that. You gotta just go watch the episode. She stabs him in the back. He does live through the stab, but that kind of actually helps. That actually hinders him a lot, and it also is a big factor on why he dies. And then his Imperial arm, like I said, it shatters, and then he falls. He would have just died normally if he just hit the ground, but apparently 2 seconds before, all the soldiers in the land decided to stick up their spears, and he falls on top of all the spears, which was stupid. He could have just fell to the ground and died, because he would have died from the impact anyway. But no, they decided to do it like that. But this is when the manga and the anime started getting separate a lot. Chelsea's death was pretty canon to the manga, and that's what happened. But Lubbock's death was a whole different story, and it was all different. None of it was the same. So this is when it kind of starts to stray away from the manga, but I'm not going to explain the manga because, like I said, if you want to read the manga, go read the manga and then watch the anime and all of that. So now the next person to die technically is Susano, and I say technically because you remember he's not really real, he's not a human, but he dies because they end up in a confrontation with Esdeath, and as they're in the confrontation with Esdeath, he has to he's trying to protect them from her, not necessarily protect them, keep Esdeath from getting to them, and he just kind of distracts her, and he uses Naginda's life force in order to power himself up because he is her Imperial arm, and he uses that so that everybody can escape. And then he fights, and as that pretty much until his core is crushed, which is the red circle on his chest, until she crushes his core. And then he comes back actually, and then he allows everyone to escape. He allows Tatsumi to get everyone, and then they like get off, and they all just disappear almost. They all leave, and then he fights Death till he dies. But we don't see him die or anything, but we all know he's dead. So the next character we have, who we have to speak on, who does die, is Mine. And this was a sad death because in the manga, everybody up to then had actually died, but in the manga, Mine has not died, and nor has another character we have to speak on. Now, Mine, she actually dies because she overheated in her battle with Budu, who was supposed to be as strong as Esdeath. They had like the Dragon Ball Z thing. That's why I called her the Gallic Gun, because this man used like the Kamehameha, and they just all like just clashed, and it was insane. And then boom, 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 everything happens, and then she actually ends up overpowering it, and it defeats Budu like that. But because of what happened, because of how much energy she was using, and how much emotional, and how much she was in a pinch and things like that, she kind of died because she suffered wounds, and she just couldn't. She was overheated pretty much. She couldn't. Her gun was overheated, and herself was overheated. She couldn't heal herself from the inside. She didn't have that many external wounds, but she had a lot of internal wounds, and she just kind of died. She couldn't go on any longer. So I want to speak on that, and I want to get through this review without like 30 minutes, but there are so many characters you have to speak on because there are a lot of characters that are actually important in the anime. So next we have Leone, who dies, and Leone dies because she it's really stupid. They didn't have to kill her, but she dies because as she was fighting was fighting the emperor, not the emperor himself, the prime minister. The prime minister used his imperial arms, which allowed him to destroy Leone's belt, kind of, and she was not able to use her Lionel powers, and she got like shot like 10 times. She did beat the prime minister. She like destroyed his face, but because she got shot 10 times, she was gonna die. But then she died. The way she died was stupid. Not because she got shot, is because first off, she didn't have to die. She could have beaten him with avoiding the whole situation. She could have just destroyed him, but because of how they made Leone, she died anyway. But she suffered the wounds. But she went on top of this Attack on Titan wall with Akame, and she sat there and spoke with her for a good 30 minutes. Not like, well, technically in the timeline of the anime, it would have been probably like a good 30 minutes. They were up there on the Attack on Titan wall. She climbed all the way up that, climbed all the way back down, went to where she was like raised and stuff, almost had a beer with everyone, and then she went in an alleyway and died from the wounds. You telling me she couldn't have just gone to the hospital and got herself wrapped up at least and given herself a chance to live? No. They're just like, nah, we're just gonna kill her. So that's just how it happened. Now, Najinda, she doesn't die in the anime, but she does say that she's gonna die because she used up all her life force powering up Susanoo. So it's assumed that in like maybe a few months or so, she does die probably because of her life force is pretty much gone. And then Akame lives. So that's pretty much how it goes. So next, we have to go into the evil side of everything, which is the Jaegers. And I'm not going to spend as long as I did on Night Raid side with them because they're not as important. The only one who's mostly important pretty much here is Esdeath herself, who is the main villain of the show. And as you can see, look at her. She's nice and bae, okay? She is nice and waifu material as well. She's kind of bloodthirsty, but she's the waifu material as well. She's nice and she's bae as well. But Esdeath is like, she's the most powerful individual in the empire. She's the strongest individual, and she loves to torture people and things like that. Like, that's why she is so insane. Not really insane, but that's why she's kind of like violent, really, really violent, vicious. Because when she tortures people, she uses different torture methods each time. She's like, okay, maybe I'll poke out your eye and see how long it takes for your eye to fall out and stuff like that. And she's really insane, but she's really cool. Like, she's a really cool character. She's really strong, and she's really powerful. Really powerful. Her ice just destroys everything. So that's why she can use his ice. But the reason why she becomes like vulnerable a lot, not a lot, but as time goes on, is because she's another one of the girls who is in love with Tatsumi. She loved him. She was like obsessed with him though. Like she was more in love with this man than mine was. Like it's insane. She was in love with him from first sight. She was all on this man's nuts. She would not hop off. But she ended up actually not really killing anyone, but she ends up destroying a lot of the Revolutionary Army, which is why in the end they kind of had to go out to the all-out brawl, but that's a whole different story. She's really, like I said, she's really got that mentality of the strong live and the weak die, and that's how she feels about everyone. If they die, they were weak. If they live, then they're strong. That's how she feels. That's even how she feels about Tatsumi. So yeah, that's a thing. And then her trump card, she can freeze time and space. Her Imperial Arms is like this marking, like right here, right in between the but yeah, right in between there, she can actually freeze time and space itself. She can freeze time and space, and then that you think that would make her unstoppable, but no, it actually doesn't make her unstoppable. But still, she can do that. And this actually allows her to be able to use ice powers, and then she can she's actually pretty fast and strong by herself. That's all just her naturally being that powerful. Is where all her speed and power and agility and quickness and all her battle experience come from. That's just her herself, not even her Imperial Arms. Now that's pretty much the main about that. She's another main character, even though she is a villain. So who's next? Next, we're gonna pretty much breeze through these because they're not that important. Now, Wave, he could have been important, but he's pretty much the Jaeger version of Tatsumi, and they don't use him at all in the anime, so I'm not gonna get very much into him. But they really decided not to use him. He was a really good character that they could have used, but they decided not to use him in the end. And of the anime and the manga, he has a lot more use and he's a lot more development, but in the anime, no. Like, he just kind of helps us introduce us to everyone, but that's pretty much it. Next, we have Kurome, who actually I do have to speak on for a second, and who is Akame's little sister, and they were both a part of the capital together, and they were both fighting together. But like I said, she has the drugs. Yeah, she's the one who killed Chelsea. She has the drugs, which allow her to be a lot more powerful than she used to be, because when she was with her sister, she was just kind of average, and her sister was really elite, but she kind of made it to the end of you have to like watch it, or you have to go explain, because when they were together, when they were really young, they pretty much put all these kids in the forest, and they're like, well, survive with what we give you, and her and Akame survived, but her skills weren't as good as Akame, so Akame went to go train under like these elite of the elite, and then they kind of use Kurome for drug testing, and it really is sad. I wasn't sad for her when she obliterated Chelsea, but it really is sad. And they used her for testing, and then she became like insane and obsessed and things like that. Like her whole way of thinking is different now because of the drugs that she took, and she has to eat these snacks that keep her alive, essentially. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention about Akame, this chick is in love with me. Akame is, but that's all. That's just a side note right there. But that is Kurome. She is Akame's little sister, and she wants to kill Akame, of course, because she left the Empire. She feels like Akame just left her. Although Akame asked her to go with her, she refused, and she feels like Akame is the enemy now. So they both really want to kill each other really bad. Next, we have Bowles, my man Bowles. Even though he's an enemy, you grow to like him. He's a really cool, likable character. He's like Susanoo almost. He can cook really good. He can he's like a really nice character, but he also uses like his I forgot to mention Waves Tegu. Hold on, let me go back. Waves Tegu is actually the it's just an upgraded version of Incursio. It's called, hold on, excuse me real quick, it's called Grand Chariot. Yeah, Grand Chariot, that's all it is. It's just a more upgraded, more useful version of Incursio. And then Kurome is Yustafasa, which is like, she has 8 slots on her sword, which she can use for people who have died, and she can turn them into puppets, and she can use that, and like, it makes her really overpowered. But like I said, the drugs kind of they make her really strong, but they also hinder her at times. And Bowles has his Imperial Arms. It's like this big old gas tank, which has unextinguishable flame, so he can pretty much burn everyone without hesitation. So next we have Run, who is legit just irrelevant in the anime. He doesn't do anything at all. He has wings. His Imperial Arm is the Mastema, but it doesn't even matter because he's really just irrelevant in the anime altogether. And next we have the Devil Girl herself and the Devil Dog. Seiryu and Koro. And Koro is the Imperial Arms, and Seiryu is just, oh, I just hate looking at her. She's so demonic, and she has like that demonic justice type of thing, where if anyone does anything wrong, she thinks that they should just be killed on the spot. It's, we just hate her. She's just so hateable. And then we have Dr. Stylish, who is there for like 2 or 3 episodes. He's like pretty much irrelevant. I mean, he does some things, and he helps us kind of see the new characters, but that's pretty much all he does. He dies from that. So let's get the characters, and that's all the Jaeger side. I didn't explain that much on the Jaeger side because they're not as important as Night Raid, but they are there. So next we're gonna talk about the animation and the music. Oh wait, no, wait, hold off on that. Before I hold my horses, I need to explain how each and every one of them died. Now this is going to be really quick because a lot of people on the Jaegers didn't die. Only 4 out of the 7 of them died. Well, no, 5 out of the 7 of them died. Wave and Run live, but still, this is how it goes. Seiryu is blown to bits by mine. Dr. Stylish is kind of obliterated. Like, he turned into like this big old danger beast kind of thing, but then he just gets destroyed by everyone on Night Raid. They kind of all team up and just kill him. Bowles is killed by Chelsea with the needle in the neck after being tricked that he was helping a little girl. She killed him. Esdeath dies by Akame in the finale. Akame turns on this ultimate power-up that she somehow gets, and she just obliterates Esdeath. Not obliterates her, but she ends up beating Esdeath. She even went through space and time and ended up beating Esdeath, slashing her just enough to the poison went through her body. And then Wave doesn't die, and then Kurome is killed by Akame, because I mean, what other way could she even die? And then Run doesn't die. So, but Run all I'm saying is go read the manga if you want, because the story is a little different, and some characters that are alive are dead, and some characters that aren't alive are alive. So that's kind of how that goes. So next, we're gonna hop into the animation and music section, and it won't speak on this part too long. Here's how the animation and music goes. It's amazing. That's how I can say it. The animation is amazing. Each and every fight is amazing. I love the vibrant colors in contrast. It's like every color is vibrant, but there's like always this dark kind of contrast usually, and within each character. It's really amazing. The way they shade everything, and the way that each character looks, and the way they're drawn, and then the music, oh my lord, every opening and ending is way too amazing. Every single opening and ending. Opening 1 and 2, I love those openings. It's probably some of my favorite openings of all time. And endings 1 and 2 are amazing as well. And that's what's playing on in the background.